now it's time to introduce our special guest.
Joining us today on Millennial Memories is a man who holds the record for being the only Australian to ever complete Another World, which he did with his hands tied and blindfolded. It's Jayden. Here he is. There's Jayden. Yay! We've brought
You
Jayden.
can Google that too.
Another World.
Yeah, Another World.
I think the only Australian to play Another World.
No. There were multiple. I know many people who play that game.
Now, I knew that Jayden was coming on the show, obviously, and we've prepared a few things here that are in front of Jayden. If you're watching along on YouTube, you'll see there are games in front of us. But as I mentioned in the very beginning there, Jay, Another World. Here is Another World. We'll just put that here for our viewers on YouTube. Another World. I've got some information about Another World. It's known as Out of This World in North America. So everywhere else except, anywhere where there is a PAL game, so the UK and Australia.
I think Japan was Another World, wasn't it?
Yeah, Japan would have been PAL games, not NTSC games. That's pretty nerdy, but Another World and other places called Out of This World. It's a cinematic action-adventure game developed by Eric Chahi, and first released in 1991, and it follows Lester, who was also, I think, the same character as Lester the Unlikely, another side note, transported to an alien world after a lab experiment goes wrong. The game is known for its rotoscoped animation, atmospheric visuals, and minimalist storytelling, delivering an emotional, immersive experience without dialogue. Except for one bit of dialogue. What's the other dialogue?
Matuba.
There's a clip to play of that. I'm sure I'll
You
fit
have
it
to
in
watch
somewhere. Originally released on platforms like the Amiga, the Atari ST, and MS-DOS, and of course the Super Nintendo version, which we have here. It has been remastered a couple of times, re-released on modern systems, PC, PlayStation, Xbox. You can get it. You can get it on the Switch.
Is that right? Yeah,
Apparently,
okay.
and mobile.
Wow.
We have to download this.
We do, yes.
Its innovative gameplay and presentation made it a cult classic and a landmark in video game history. Now, that's probably a bit exaggerated. Thanks, Mick. Mick provided these facts. But, Jay, tell us all about Another World and how you fucking beat Another World.
Especially blindfolded. How did you do it?
Yeah.
How did you do it?
Oh, look, having sight for this game doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. No.
Don't need it.
I mean, I've played it and I know sight doesn't matter. So
It's all about the sound.
Yeah.
Look, this is without a doubt the hardest video game ever made.
Ever made.
And I am coming at this from a perspective of not someone that plays a lot of video games.
Oh, right.
But it is impossible to finish that game without dying numerous times.
Right.
Because every time you'd go to a new screen, there'd be some sort of thing that can kill you before you can even adjust or process it. So then you need to remember next time, okay, I walk to the next screen, there's going to be someone shooting at me. And then you need to make sure that you
I
put
can't
your
remember.
force
Is it
field
a
up.
one-hit death game, Jay? Or?
Yeah.
It is?
It is. Yeah.
One-
Yeah, it is
one
too.
hit, yeah, one hit
The
death.
leeches, if you got hit with the leeches at the
Correct.
very
Yeah,
start,
yeah,
you'd be
yeah.
gone straight away. You'd jump,
Yeah.
and then still somehow you'd still hit them. I don't really understand.
But you have clocked it.
I have
Clocked
clocked
it. You
it.
have clocked it. Very important.
Can you tell us
Clocked it.
how you clocked the game?
Alright. So, thankfully, being such a hard game, each level came with its own code, password. So once you get
okay,
to a
password.
new level, you got a password so you can start at that level. And then it wasn't until something called the internet, don't know if you've heard of it,
Boo,
Yes,
internet.
yes.
where people had already done a lot of these
Done a lot of the work.
codes, done a lot of the
yes,
work. I was standing on the shoulder of giants, I'll be honest.
Hey, don't downplay it. Don't downplay it.
I already talked up with
only
the
man
intro,
in Australia
Jay.
to do this. And blindfolded, as you said.
I
You played
talked
like
up,
sound.
Oh, I took it to
Played
the
by
next
sound.
level.
Yeah.
There was a walkthrough too that I needed, and some passcodes, and some caffeine, and a lot of time.
A walkthrough. What's a
at the time.
walkthrough?
So a walkthrough is where someone's already completed the game, and then they tell you all
Not
the
in
things
Australia.
that happen.
No,
but
not in
having said
Australia.
that, the walkthrough in Another World was, like the
Complex?
size of the Bible. Like it
Right.
was massive because every little scene. Okay, it's like okay, now you walk into the scene and duck really quick because someone's going to shoot at you. Every scene. So reading the walkthrough
Full on.
deserves.
Back in the day, I mean, Jay, you're a millennial too, technically, as far as your year of birth, and you fit into the generation that we're from. We're a little bit older than Jay. And the idea of a walkthrough is foreign. We used to just get magazines, right? We all
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah.
You would get a magazine, Game Pro, or one of those kind of game magazines, and you would have to find, like, for fighting games, it'd be what moves you could do, cheat codes, passwords, all that sort of stuff. Or, the other way you'd get a way to finish a game, which you'd get your friends would give you cheat codes on a little piece of paper, and you put in your pocket at school, and you'd come home and you try it, and it'd be say, push left 5 times, push B, A twice, then right, and you do it, and it'd be fucking wrong.
Yeah, you'd written
Wouldn't
something
work.
down. It was a left instead of a right,
Yeah.
or an up instead of a down.
You couldn't
or
read the
something,
arrows, yeah. Even any game, it was always like
Yeah.
that. It was always like that. So back in the day, we had video game magazines, but you've used the old internet to find it out. But hey, at least you complete. What happens at the end of Another World?
You end up flying off into the sunset with a
Oh, fucking what?
with a dragon type creature.
Lame.
I'm not
yeah,
sure of the
dragon.
mythology,
Yeah.
but that's the end scene. Like, it is very cinematic.
Alright.
It is minimalistic, the story.
So I guess the question is, was it worth the 20,000 hours you put into it?
20,000 hours.
100%.
It was, yeah.
I would do
Alright.
it
To
again.
have the title of the only man in
If I
Australia
hadn't
complete it,
done
yes.
it already,
Yeah.
I would do it again.
Okay.
In a heartbeat.
Now I'm aware that your love for SNES extends beyond Another World. I've got something here that I know Jay's a fan of, and I'll get him to present and talk about this game.
So this is Super International Cricket.
It is.
Being Australian, cricket, one of our favourite pastimes. This game also comes with a lot of difficulties because all the players would have different qualities, and every team would have one person who ran about as fast as paint drying. And so you'd be running between the wickets, and this one guy would just be dawdling along, slow. And
Oh,
all of
so
a
they were at
sudden you
different
get run
speeds,
out.
like that. They would actually run.
Oh, it was a very
different speeds between
detailed
wickets.
It was
game.
like their skill set.
Yeah,
Their skill
right.
set. They all had
Okay.
different skill sets, and they all had names that were similar to cricket names, but not quite. Instead of Steve Waugh, it'd be
Steve Warren or something.
Steve
yeah,
Warren,
yeah.
or just slightly off. So you knew who it was supposed to be, but
They couldn't get the
anyway.
rights to these people's real names
No.
in whatever year that was. I've actually got some notes from Slick Mick about Super International Cricket. It's from Beam Software, released for the SNES in _94. One of the few cricket games available on consoles. You couldn't get this in America because they wouldn't buy it, obviously.
No,
It's very much an Australian, English, potentially Asian countries kind of game. Again, it says, while lacking official player names or licenses, it captured the spirit of the sport with intuitive batting and bowling mechanics. Look, I thought the fact that you could do different shot placements was good. I was always a big fan of the hook shot. Get down to the hook shot and just try and flick it out the
Try and
back of your
flick it to
pads.
6
Yeah.
or 4. Yeah.
Yeah, they would always give you a 4 or a 6 actually when you did that.
When you did the little flick,
So could you do field placements like the other games? Like you could drag guys?
you
yeah.
could literally. There would be a screen, and then there would be a hand that came in, picked up the player. The player's legs would wiggle, so
Oh,
that
yeah.
they would be moving around,
And
and,
crushing
then
his
you drop,
body.
Yeah, right.
and then you drop them into place.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
It was a
pretty
crack.
fantastic. Yeah,
We've all played it. So full disclosure to
We've all
everybody at
loved
home,
it.
we've played it. We know it's a great game. But that leads us to other sports games. Now I know Jay, you're a fan of sports games. More
Can I
than
just say
me.
before we move on,
Yes.
the best feature was that you could get them to say "How's that," which means they could hit you for 6, and you could still be going, "How's that?
How's that?
You could appeal.
How's that?
You could appeal at any time.
Any
Anything.
time.
And it stopped the gameplay,
It'd
right?
piss your friends off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Piss your friends off, right?
What's next? What do you got for us?
Well, so what I was saying is Jayden's into sports games, and I again recall that you're into specifically SmackDown, and I wasn't sure whether it was the first one or the second one. There's about 10, isn't there? But
Oh, I don't know. I stopped playing after the second one, but
Okay.
the second one is
No,
where the
you roll.
magic happened. Okay, the first one they were finding their feet, but the second one
Lightning in a bottle, right?
they just got
Yeah.
it. They
Yeah.
just understood that when you play a wrestling game, you don't want to have to think. You just want to mash buttons,
suplex your enemy.
Yeah.
suplex people.
DDT
you
them.
could do as many finishes as you wanted. You could get as many finishes done to you, and you'd still kick out. It didn't matter. You'd fall off a Hell in a Cell, and you'd just get back up, no issues. That's
Just
how
like real
wrestling
life.
just like real life. That's how wrestling games should be. Nowadays, they're too complicated. You get tired. You have to rest. When you fall off a cell, you get hurt.
What year was that released, Jay? Do you know? You got it on the back?
2001? 2002?
It's for the PlayStation. But because PlayStation
2000.
2 was backwards compatible, and it got released in 2000, I think most people probably played this on the PS2 because the PS2 was backwards compatible.
Yeah, got you.
I remember playing on the PS2.
Yeah.
Great game, and you could customize characters. You could make wrestlers.
Yes.
And it was called, they were Cause, Create a Wrestler,
Ah,
CAW.
Okay,
I remember that. But Jay, you've got a pile here
Okay.
of games. Can
What's
you give us
next?
a rundown on
Alright,
those?
so we're
Crackers.
talking about the best
So
wrestling games.
That's the
Yeah.
pinnacle. You've got the pinnacle.
And we're talking PlayStation 1, early PlayStation 2 here. But this
Late
one,
90s, early 2000s.
and
Yeah.
I apologise for any fans, because it did have some positives. But WCW Backstage Assault. When you buy a wrestling game, your first thought shouldn't have to be concerned about, is there a ring or not? This game, there's no ring.
Well, what are you fighting in?
You're fighting in backstage arenas.
Well, it's called Backstage
Oh,
Assault.
it is.
Got
But
ya.
you think, okay,
But how do you
start the
win?
ring
How
on-
do you win the
yeah.
match if you can't? Or is it falls count anyway?
It's pretty much falls count anywhere. It's pretty much when they get
Right.
knocked out. Like, you know, it had some positives, but in terms of gameplay and all the rest,
It's no SmackDown 2,
It's
is
no
it?
SmackDown 2. They were trying to be edgy, but
It backfired.
It backfired.
Essentially, it just didn't work.
It's a fail.
It was a fail.
Sounds like that whole company, actually.
Sounds like a fail.
WCW.
I think that was the downfall. That was the
downfall.
start of it.
Okay.
All right, talking about cricket games.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is the best cricket game of all time. Shane Warne.
Well, that's a
99.
big call.
It is. And
I
if
think
you
it also-
disagree,
If
you're
you
number
disagree
one.
with Jayden, roast him in the comments.
Yeah.
I think it was called Brian Lara 99 as well in some places, but it had the license rights to some of the countries. I don't know if it had all of them,
Right.
but it was just a fun game. It wasn't hard. These days, cricket games, you got to push 4 buttons before you can bowl. This game, set the ring, away you go.
Oh, the little circle.
The
You
little
mean where
circle,
ball? Yeah.
and then the worse the bowler was, and I'm sure it's the same in other cricket games, but the bigger the circle
Yeah,
was, so
yeah.
you put your
Yeah,
wicket keeper
got
to
ya.
bowl,
Yeah.
and the circle's like the size of the pitch.
Yeah, yeah.
So you put it on there, and
Yeah.
then it shrinks down to the ball size, but it could shrink to
Anywhere.
anywhere because it was
Right.
such
Yeah,
a
yeah.
big circle, and it was just so much fun. They also had bonus like best 11s. Best like
Well, that's cool.
Australian
That's a cool
11 of all time.
feature,
So you
yeah.
could play as Don Bradman in it. So
Or Warney himself, right?
no, he didn't appear in the game. No, I'm kidding. He was there. He was
I was
there.
going to say, what?
Shane Warne didn't. make
Rest in
appearance.
peace, Warney.
Well, he's given his rights
Yeah.
to it, so
He's a
he's
champ.
got a signature on it. So
It's a shame we
Probably
lost.
made a
It's a
fortune
shame we
out of
lost
it.
Warney,
Yeah,
eh? It's
probably
a real
made a
shame.
fortune out of that game.
now, on the same line of things, speaking of easy to play
Now,
sports
everyone
games,
knows this one, right? Early times.
Australians and Kiwis.
Yeah,
Kiwis know this
Absolutely,
one.
yeah.
talk about
To our Kiwi brothers.
fun game to play. I mean, I think we all did it. We picked Australia and New Zealand, and we played against the Ivory Coast. And we'd rack up a score of 100 plus because you just pass
Just-
it to
just like real life.
Lomu or
Yeah.
Campese.
Dominate, yeah.
And you would just run around them because they couldn't catch you. And you just feel like a god.
It was like a pass, get it out wide and run, right?
Oh, you just,
yeah.
you just run around them.
Yeah.
I mean, they had countries that were in there.
Again, this is like real life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was.
100%. They had countries in there that I'm pretty sure aren't even real
It's fallen,
countries.
it's fallen apart in your
It's had
hands,
some.
Jay.
It's had some love.
It has had. This
It has
has
had
been
some
through the
love.
ringer.
It is a good game.
Jonah Lomu rugby.
What do you got here to
And
round
the
out your?
last one,
What do you got?
Chris and I know very well. Knockout Kings 2001.
Absolute banger. What a
It is
banger.
a classic. So, talk about not being difficult. You know, you just mashing the buttons and you can win a fight. I remember there was a little cheat code where you could do a kick in the groin.
Yeah.
And it would
Yeah.
hurt them enormously.
Yeah.
But it had all the licenses for all the big boxers. Like you could box as Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. You could box as them all and just
Simplicity,
simple
right? That
fun.
was the key that
I know.
made these things so great. Was
Yeah.
simplicity, I think. It wasn't like today. You got, as you said, you got to hit 4 different buttons to make them do something. This was simple button mashing and yeah,
It was just fun.
It was easy. It was fun and easy.
There was no need for. I mean, there's sports games, but there's no need for stories. Like you just went out and you played.
There was no
Well, the
little
wrestling
Mac.
games had a
There was
story.
no little
mate.
Mac, remember? And,
Little Mac, Glass Joe.
That's a throwback to Mike Tyson
Well,
for anyone watching.
Yeah.
Sports games. I think that the wrestling games are such a massive library of wrestling games, and
Yeah.
we didn't even scratch the surface around like FIFA or NFL games
Yeah,
or
never
NBA
touched
Jam.
Never touched it.
NBA Jam.
What a game.
That look, we're Australians.
He's on fire.
He's heating up.
And that would just. Yeah.
I tell you what though, NBA Jam, just as a side note,
it's a
boys,
great
fun
it's
game.
a great game.
It's
We
a
love
great
it. And basketball's not a big sport in Australia, not as big as
Not even close.
rugby and rugby league and in cricket, but NBA Jam, it's just an honourable mention, lads. I thought I'd chuck that out there. Jayden, thank you very much for joining us on this little
It's my pleasure.
foray into the sports games in Another World. Actually, I hear that you've got plans to play Another World underwater. Like
With a snorkel.
and beat the
With
game.
with a tentacle coming up to
Yeah.
try and grab me and put me down.
Maybe. Why not?
I think we're going to have to film that.
You're going to
Put it
throw
on.
me in
Yeah.
from like a piano, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what it is at the start? where
I
he
think
sings?
so. I think so.
All right. Well,
If you want to see Jayden do that underwater,
Yeah.
write in, please.
yeah.
Send us a piano
Yeah.
Send us a tentacle.
and a tentacle.
All right. That's it. We're done. See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
My